Welcome to Failure is Progress, presented by Sweat Factory CrossFit. I am Coach Frankie Ortega.
And I am Coach Keith Barber. Join us today as we discuss everything going on inside the CrossFit space, and more importantly, what new and exciting things are happening in our Sweat Factory CrossFit gyms.
As always, thank you to all of our listeners. We appreciate the support and truly enjoy the feedback we've been receiving from all of you.
Please reach out through our DMs on Instagram. If you aren't already following us, please do so at Failure is Progress, all lowercase. And now, on to today's episode. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Failure is Progress. I am here with the one, the only, the legend, the super bad you-know-what, Jenn Rice. How are you?
I'm great, but keep talking. That was so good for my ego, Coach.
The
Thank
lovely,
you, Keith.
the amazing.
Okay, stop. You're embarrassing me.
So how was coaching this morning?
Coaching was great. That was a fun class. We did intervals on the bike, accumulating 200, maybe 300 calories. And, you know, it was really great when athletes come up to you and say, oh, man, the assault bike wasn't the hardest part of that workout.
Yeah, facts.
That's actually a fun twist.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that programming. I got to be an athlete, too, in your class. That was a fun experience. Great organization, great patience. I always enjoy having you as a coach.
Yeah, no, I definitely do not like workouts where I am begging to get back on the assault bike. That sandbag was too heavy. I immediately dropped down to the 90-pounder because, I made poor decisions. I will own that.
It was fun to watch you make poor decisions, though. Thank you for that.
Watch me, my face turn red. It was like, oh, I thought he was black. That's crazy. Real quick, if we have any Mind Forgers out there's just a couple announcements that we have specifically for you guys. But if you're not inside of our community, don't turn the podcast off because we're going to get back to business in just a second. But for my Mind Forgers, the gymnastics clinic has officially been canceled. We just didn't get enough signups for that. So if you have signed up for that, just reach out to us and we will be able to coordinate you with next steps. But just a reminder, gymnastics clinic is canceled. We also have a hike coming up, obviously not at the gym. So reach out to Jenn Rice, who I'm on the podcast with now, or Roan Durden. If you have his deets, go ahead and reach out to him. If you're interested in going, there's going to be some camping from what I understand, and then another hike back. Jenn, you want to give me some more details on that?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. It's a hike from Juniper Springs to Farlow's Prairie. It's a 10-mile hike. We're going to crash overnight there with some camping and some bonfire activities, and then we'll hike back the next day. So athletes can join us for Saturday for the hike out, the overnight, and the hike back for a 20-mile round trip, or people can join us Sunday, meeting us at Farlow's Prairie and hiking back to Juniper and just take a one-day, 10-mile hike. So it'll be a fun adventure. I'm looking forward to getting out there and doing that again. We did it last year, and it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually plan on going this year as well. Roan said that he's got some camping equipment and stuff for me. So thanks, buddy, for sponsoring my trip. And hopefully I make it back because, usually in the horror movies, the black guy don't really make it. So awesome. That is going to wrap up our announcements. Be on the lookout for other events and things coming up as we go through the year. All right, Jenn. So I wanted to start out with a kind of a fun question and just kind of pick your brain about what you're thinking about this year and the Open and all that. So if you could stop one movement from showing up in the Open this year, what would it be and why?
Okay, so if I could stop one movement from showing up, as an athlete, I don't care. Bring it on. I'm ready. Throw it at me. Anything I'm not ready for, that's my own fault. I didn't train it hard enough. And I probably deserve to be publicly humiliated. But I still would like to say that what I'd love to see avoided are standards issues. Like, do you remember back in 2021 when Trey Thomas Mitchell, he was trying to do the handstands. Now, that dude can do some handstand push-ups. But being 6'4" and the proportions and the tape line and just how it played out, he could only do it if he was on his knuckles. So that's how he did it. He did the handstand push-ups on his knuckles. That was the only way he could get his feet over the line. That's the kind of stuff I don't want to see. Like, I don't want to see some technicality cost somebody just a good community experience. So I'm just hoping I don't see any of that stuff this year.
Yeah, that would immediately take me out of any runnings. I've never done a handstand push-up on my knuckles before, and I don't think the open would be the time that I would start.
Have to learn, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? I know in last year you weren't too excited about that combination of the dumbbell snatches and burpees. It seemed to be two of your least favorite things.
Yeah, that was a absolutely brutal combination. But I don't mind workouts like that are just like grunt work. That workout specifically hit me so hard just because, one, I'm not good at pacing. Two, I'm not good at just doing like a sub-maximal pace either. So it's like I either have a full-out sprint or I have an aerobic piece where my heart rate never gets over 115 and it's going to take me an hour and a half. You know what I mean? Like there's only extremes. So that one beat me up because that was one of those where it's like you're supposed to be at like 85, maybe 90%. You don't want to go full dummy. But if I honestly, thrusters, I hate thrusters. I absolutely hate them. But I would rather do a thruster than like the burpee plus movements, like a burpee box jump over or a burpee pull up or like a burpee over bar or something like that. Usually there's something coupled with it, like the dumbbell snatch or deadlifts or jump rope that also jacks your heart rate up. So just my heart rate staying that high for that long, I'm going to hit a wall and then I just have to stop moving to recover. And that feeling I don't like. I don't like just like the clock just bleeding out and just hemorrhaging time. You know, I want to be able to keep moving during the workout to get the best score possible.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's interesting.
That's a fun question.
That's very interesting. I like your perspective from a coach though, because that's something that I didn't think about. I just thought about like from the athlete perspective. But yeah, there's some times where there's some sketchy stuff going on, and you're like, I don't even know if that should be a rep, shouldn't be a rep. But yeah. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty. What we're here for today. We're going to talk about a new venture that you and I have embarked on. Officially started on November 16th, and that is opening up the Mind Forge CrossFit.
Wah, wah, wah. Where's the sound effects?
I know. Burr, 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 burr.
There it is. If Frankie were here, we'd have some great sound effects.
Yeah, I don't know which button it is.
Don't press the buttons.
I was thinking about just going with a mix of them and seeing what we had in there.
But yeah, this is an exciting adventure. I'm really joyous about this. I feel like the community has come behind us and rallied with us, and the amount of volunteer turnouts we had to do the transformation day, and man, like donations to the gym for equipment, and I feel the love.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've definitely felt the most community support I've ever felt from a gym changing hands with this transfer. And maybe I'm biased just because this one involves me. But
or maybe we're biased because the people who don't like it aren't talking to us. But the people who do like it have been really vocal about what they like.
Usually it's the other way around. The people that don't like it will let you know loudly. But yeah, that's been really nice. All the compliments, all the hugs, all the congratulations and stuff has been really, really cool. I did want to ask you, why the name Mind Forge?
That's a great question. I really can't think about the origin story of Mind Forge CrossFit and that name without paying tribute to a book recommendation that you had for us in the Coaches Development Group. It was The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. You remember assigning that book to
I
us and why
do.
you did?
It was mainly an assignment for me, really. I have had that book on my shelf just collecting dust for ages. So I was like, to force me to read this book, I'm going to assign it to the athletes, to the coaches.
No, assign it to the athletes. It's a fantastic book. Y'all, right now, your next RX workout is to read or listen to The Obstacle is the Way.
Yeah. But yeah, to assign it to the coaches to force me to finally get my stuff together and read it myself. And yeah, it was way better than I knew it was going to be. It's one of those things it's like, oh, I know how good it's going to be, but I'm so busy with this, busy with that I didn't make time for it. And then when you do make time for it, you're like, why didn't I do this 3 years ago when I bought the book? Yeah.
I feel the same way because I've started listening to it and stopped listening to it to do some podcast stuff. And every time I go back to it, I'm like, why do you keep leaving? So I did enjoy that very much. And I appreciate that you shared that with us. And I'm confident that played a little bit of a role in the development of that first list of names I presented to you for the gym. All of them had some component of either education or mindset or brain capacity. There was some sort of scholastic or mindset component in every one of the names because I saw the value in that, in what we're doing here. For CrossFit, we've had that concept throughout of being prepared for the unknown and the unknowable. We do a great job getting our athletes ready to go on long adventure trips and hikes and kayaking and whatever it is that they might want to do with their physical selves. But we need to pay tribute as well to what we're allowing them to do with their mental selves, providing them with that opportunity to create perseverance and grit and healthy, positive mindsets and growth mindsets. I mean, just the name of your podcast alone, failure is progress. I mean, progress comes from effort, from learning to fail. So, oh yeah, the mindset is just as strong of a part of this community. And I wanted to pay tribute to that. Speaking of the power of the community, the Mind Forge athletes, most of y'all know those of you who are listening out there, thank you for continuing to support the podcast, the gym, and me. Went through something rather traumatic back in November, and for the purpose of the podcast, I won't rehash that, but I do want to spotlight what the community has done for me. During the darkest days of my life, this community rallied behind me. I mean, text messages and phone calls and showing up at my door and bringing me hot chocolate and blankets and food. Thank you. Shout out for the food, Phoenicia. But people were really there for me. So I'm extremely thankful for what this community has provided. And I've seen us do it for our athletes. And I knew that it was valuable. But having experienced it firsthand, you know what it's like to have people make you feel so strong and so supported when you're not strong at all, when you're having a moment. I am now stronger than I was before, but that comes mostly from this community. There was a segment in The Obstacle is the Way where the author talks about the remarkable rigidity and strength of an arch. And he said, you've got to have the foundation in place, the architectural structure in place. And that's what I feel like I've done in my life. I've gotten my emotional capacity in a strong framework. But you're not really strong until tension is applied. So the tension being put on the archway binds everything together and makes it that much stronger. And shout out to this community for helping be that glue to put it all together in that time of tension. I'm thankful. I'm humbled. And I see it for the first time, just what we have done for the people in our community who've come to us in their vulnerable times and knew that they weren't alone.
Absolutely. Yeah, sometimes you just got to apply that pressure.
Yeah, and life's going to do it. That's the moral of the story here, right? Like, life's going to do something. So we want to be prepared for the unknown and unknowable, both physically and mentally. And this is the place to do it.
Awesome. Yeah, that is also what made it resonate for me as well. I've always been not always, let me not say that, but as I started to get better at coaching, and as I started coaching higher level athletes, I started to realize like one of the things that gets a person from beginner to intermediate to advanced to elite and then to pro is their character. Like you can get pretty fit or kind of fit by just doing certain workouts and kind of going to the gym whenever you want to and kind of being on and off different diet plans and stuff like that. You might get from beginner to intermediate. You might even get, depending on your genetics, intermediate to RX. But you're not going, or advanced, I should say. But you're definitely not going from advanced to elite unless you take care of some of those, some of that characteristics that you're going to need to get there, the consistency, the dedication, all that stuff that you hear on Instagram gym videos and stuff like that, all the motivational quotes that you see online, all of that stuff, it's true. That's why it's cliche, is because it's true. You're going to need all of that to get to the advanced and then to elite, and if you don't have it, you're never getting pro. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain things that certain mental skills that you need to adopt to be able to go from I'm a beginner, this is day one, I've never done this before, to I am one of the best in the world at this. So that's why that really resonated with me, is because we are training you to think a different way by asking you to do difficult things with your body. And it's absolutely amazing to watch people go through that transformation, not just, like you said, not just physically, but also the mental side of things as well, having that confidence. I mean, we talk about our other host, Frankie. When he first got to the gym, if I would have asked him to take his shirt off.
No, not happening.
Not even close.
Now you have to ask him to put it back on.
I will never ask him to put it back on. I'm like, can you squeeze it out over me? Too far.
Too far. But, we've got the slogan here where we say that we use mental grit to forge physical excellence. But I think the flip of that script works just as well. We could say that we use the pursuit of physical excellence to forge mental grit. They work hand in hand, and the order doesn't happen the same way for every athlete. Some people are strong-minded when they come in and they push themselves, appropriately within boundaries, but they push themselves to that better version. Some people don't start with the confidence. They just start with the trusting the process. And as they're doing the thing, they develop the confidence. But one way or another, that develops and deepens. Either the physical excellence deepens or the mental excellence deepens, or most people are going to benefit both of them. But the order is different for all of our athletes. And so, we're making that difference. And I'm excited to be part of that.
Yeah, it definitely feels good to know that everything that you've worked for is coming into fruition. It's been a long road, and there's always challenges with anything. There's going to be challenges, but it's good to know that you overcame those, and now you're on the other side of it, and you have new challenges. So speaking of challenges, what have you, or we, I should say we, what have we done? I don't think I said this earlier, but these questions that I'm asking you right now are from the members. Some of them are just conversations that I've had with other members and stuff that they've asked me, and then some of them are like directly like, hey, you should put this on the podcast. So that's why they're phrased the way they're phrased, because I didn't edit the phrasing at all. I realized that after I read the first question, why the name Mind Forge? It sounds like I wasn't a part of that process at all.
I was like, dude, you were there.
That's why they're phrased the way they're phrased. Sorry, I felt like I had to disclaim that. All right, so what have we done so far to the gym?
So, we've been at this for less than 12 weeks now, and I put together a list of what we've accomplished. Boy, that was a long 12 weeks. Right out of the gate, we changed our name and rebranded to align with our goals, right? We renamed it. We got signage up. We wanted to reflect those values of forging ahead with our mental journeys and our physical journeys. We changed the programming right from the start to get a more diversified and thoughtful experience. We got nothing but positive feedback from that. I can't say nothing but positive. There's a couple things that people are still learning to understand about the programming, but it creates these valuable opportunities for us to have those conversations about why the programming is how it is. So, I'm loving that. We partnered with Affiliate University. That one was a big one. They've provided so many resources, as you know, behind the scenes, making our coaches even better. We had a great coaches development program that you were launching before our affiliation with them, and they just took it up and added notch. Now, instead of the world-renowned, most amazing Coach Keith, the sexiest man in CrossFit, I think is how they refer to you. Instead of having just your expertise reviewing homework assignments from the coaches, now we've got seminar staff, the best of the best in the industry reviewing coaches' submissions and making us all better. They're doing the same thing for the admin side, giving structure and framework so that this is one of the best boxes possible. Let's see what else we've got. Monthly newsletter. That was a recommendation from one of the members. They said Amanda, 5 a.m. shout out, athlete of the month. Woo woo. She had said that when she drops in the keys, they have a newsletter, and she only drops in there every so often, and yet every month when they send out the newsletter, she reads it. I'm like, it's not even your gym. She's like, well, we don't have a newsletter. And I thought I'd give it a try, and it was very well received. I got a lot of feedback on that. The gym, the look, the feel of it. We moved the flooring around to improve safety. We took up a lot of the lifting platforms because they just weren't quite conducive to the CrossFit experience. We kept some for our Olympic weightlifting club, which that's valuable to have for them. Added the handstand push-up wall so our walls don't get dented on a regular basis. Again, just keeping up that professional image that we're portraying. Mentioned earlier, upgrades to some of the equipments. All the bikes, all the rowers are fully functional now. And man, have you seen that seat?
I have seen that seat.
We need more of those seats, Keith.
Yeah. It comes with a seat cover, and I always pull the seat cover off really slowly just to get that reveal.
So yeah, all the machines, I'm just going to gloss right over that. All the machines are now fully operational. We got a gift. I was mentioning this earlier. Kurt, shout out. Thank you so much. Right out of the gate when we announced the gym transition, he bought 3 barbells for the gym. And, we matched that donation with 3 additional barbells that we put in, just creating that upgrade feeling here. You and I collaborated. We made the 2025 calendar. So we have a plan of action for social events, educational events, retail events, whole map already created so that we keep moving things forward. We did the first launch of our online retail store. We had some t-shirts, some tanks, some sweatshirts, some hats, all sorts of stuff. It's still up, by the way. Shameless plug right here. If you didn't get in on that action, the store is still open. This one, it's a boring one, but it's an important one. We purchased the surety bond that allows Mind Forge CrossFit to sell prepaid memberships in accordance with Florida law. It's a big deal. It can cost a lot of money. It's $25,000 bond, but I think it's right for that. That does not mean I paid $25,000, but it is an investment in our athletes who like to have that option to save the most amount of money, pay for a year up front. So I wanted to do that for them. We have several people who take advantage of that. And this one I'm most proud of. Of all the things, I love to give back to our athletes. We couldn't do this without them, but we couldn't do it without the coaches either. So converting our staff from 1099 contractors to W-2 employees, where the business is now paying a percentage of their taxes that they were previously obligated to pay themselves. Also adding in workers' compensation insurance, because you never know. Those are important to me and to Mind Forge, because I want to treat our team like the professionals that they are. So that transformation just hit home. I value our team, and I wanted them to feel that right from the start. So, and if all that wasn't enough, the bathrooms, man, we're so close, a couple weeks away to having them fully restored. But shout out to Jeremy Saunders, man.
Facts.
Man, those floors, they look so good.
So good. The
hours he put into making that happen, like every day after class for like 2 weeks, he would stay and just chip away, do something. And then he did
and it wasn't like he showed
weekend.
up after class. Like, no, he
He came and
worked
did the
out,
thing.
and then busted his butt after class.
Yes.
Like, yeah, that man was hustling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, huge shout out to the Saunders family. Little Elle just had her second birthday last weekend. We were all at the birthday partying it up.
Good times, man. Good times. But yeah, that's a lot. And we've been at it less than 12 weeks. So we're just getting started.
Keeping that ball rolling. And what a great start it is. But another question from the gym audience. What's the next step for the gym?
This one's not going to make me popular, and I'm okay with that. Our athletes have moved from Wadify to Sugar Wad, back to Wadify, to Chalk It Pro. They've had a lot of bouncing around over the years, and I'm going to come along and ask them to do it one more time. So we will continue with the CrossFit affiliate programming. Your programming won't change, but the mechanism by which it's delivered to our athletes will change. We're going to be moving out of Chalk It Pro into an app called Push Press. And for those of you who watched me, blood, sweat, and tears, go through the transition, moving you out of Wadify into Chalk It Pro, you saw how many hours that took. It's a very lengthy process behind the scenes.
Yeah, I've never seen somebody's fingertips get calloused. That was crazy. That was wild. I was like, do you play guitar? That's wild.
It's funny because it's true. But for me to take on that workload and say I want to do this again, and I want to do it without Macy's help this time, because I had a partner for it last time. Yeah. That tells you how strongly I feel about this new platform. I want to do that for the athletes. It's going to streamline a lot of the administrative tasks that I do, which means I can do them more regularly. I can be more engaged with the athletes, and that's really what this community is all about. I want to support them. I want to be blasting you if you haven't shown up in a couple of days. And I do that now, but not to the frequency I want to be doing that. So some of these streamlined procedures that are going to happen are going to just make me better at my job. And the better I am, the better our athletes are. So that's very meaningful. And then there's some fun stuff. Like Push Press gamifies things that we're already doing. Our Committed Club, for instance, it's going to give you a countdown. It's going to remind you, like, hey, you've only got 5 more classes to make Committed Club this month. And when you hit it, it's going to celebrate you with some confetti and just take the stuff that we're doing that's important to continuity and longevity and fitness and wellness and just make it fun. So I'm very much looking forward to all the streamlining that's going to happen in there. I was on a tutorial call again yesterday, and every time I'm on a call, I fall deeper in love with Push Press. So that's the next big thing. And then the next big thing, that's up to our athletes. So we just launched this morning, as a matter of fact, our Mind Forge CrossFit survey. Shout out to Coach Alex. He threw that out in the last staff meeting as something we should do. I was asking for coaches' feedback on what might come next, and we had some collaborative ideas there. And he said, I'd love to hear from the athletes. So he built the survey. We tweaked it around a little bit, tested it, and launched it this morning. So what comes next might very well be up to the athletes now. So we'll see what they want to see.
And that's awesome that we were willing to, I guess I'm patting myself on the back right now, but that's okay.
You deserve it.
That's awesome that we were willing to do all the things to make sure you have a great time. No. What I wanted to say was it's awesome to create that culture of feedback, right? Like we're giving you feedback all the time on your lifts, on your gymnastic skills, on your running. We're constantly giving you feedback to help you get better. We want to have that same opportunity. You know what I mean? We want you to tell us when you feel like we could be doing better somewhere else. Depending on how you phrase it, depends on how I respond. But no, no. Phrase it how you will, and I will do my best to manage my anger skills. Not anger. I don't really get angry that often, but I do get frustrated a lot.
Yeah,
I get annoyed very quickly. I wish I didn't. I wish I was a person that could just let stuff roll off their back. But yeah, a lot of little stuff just gets to me.
Is that something we should talk about in the mindset meeting?
Possibly.
We'll keep working on that.
There's definitely some deep-seated childhood trauma there that we should unpack immediately.
After we turn off the mics, we're going to revisit that, Keith. I got you. I got you.
But speaking of personal development and mindset, you and I have both gone through a 4-week intensive mindset course.
So intensive. There's nothing like sitting side by side with your best friend and crying together in a mindset program. Yeah. That really was a beautiful bonding moment. I'm never going to forget that.
It really was. I think that cemented a lot of friendship that we have built already. It kind of just locked it right in place, you know. There's nothing like crying with somebody to make you feel close to them.
But yeah, there was more than tears in there. There's so much personal development. Like you said, the bonding, that was important to me. You know, we have this business venture we're doing together, and you need to be able to talk through the difficult times. And man, like I thought I was good at that. I really thought I had a communication style that allowed me, because I've always been honest and transparent and vulnerable, that tends to lend to good, deep conversations. I didn't have nothing compared to before the mindset course, and now after the mindset course. There's so many new tools in my toolbox that have just changed everything. So I'm going to back up a little bit for the listeners. The mindset course is embedded in Affiliate University. It's one of the modules that you have access to as an affiliate owner in this program. It's 4 weeks long. Each week you have meeting with the mindset coach, and he's giving you prompts and giving you feedback and challenging you to write down your thoughts. And he'll give you a prompt, you'll write it down, you'll have to think about it, and then he'll kind of manipulate and massage the word choice in your sentence so that you might be starting off with a really big trauma, something that's hard and heavy and makes your chest feel tight and your palms are sweating. And by the end of the call, you feel so much relief because you've rewritten the story. There's several components to the mindset program, but that was the one that really got me, was how easily you can rewrite your story. So he had the definition of mindset as the story you tell yourself about yourself. Mm-hmm. And as you learned through the program too, just rephrasing some of the things you've been telling yourself just unlocks new power. Like it puts the ball back in your court to not be the victim of a situation, but to own that situation and say, no, I'm writing this story. Where do I want to go next? And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a ton of, I'm a big quotes guy. Quotes, for whatever reason, really like hit home for me. Quotes and phrases. So going back to what you were saying about being a victim, one thing that hit home with me was when he said, if you make someone else a villain, you are automatically becoming a victim.
Oh, I liked that part. Yeah.
Like you can't have one without the other. So the second that you say, oh, this happened to me because so-and-so, blah, 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 you automatically you're the victim there because you made someone else the villain. So that really hit home with me as far as like victim mentality and stuff like that. Because I, much like you, I didn't think that I had a victim mentality in any way. And now that I've gone through the course, I realized that there were some ways where I was choosing to be a victim because I was making someone else the villain.
Yeah, I did the same thing, because when someone would talk about victim mentality, of course, you get these images in your mind of who you're talking about, and I couldn't help it. Like, when he would say that, I would think about Rudy, because he would describe himself as being broken. He was like, I'm broken, and everyone's out to get me, and everyone's abandoned me. It's all this, like, other people doing to me. And Joel said, so to elaborate, Joel Cochran, he's the person who did the mindset course. He's the founder of a virtual health consulting business called Proclivity. Shout out to his podcast, Proclivity. Yeah. I've been following that, and he has another one as well. Trying to remember what that called. How to Have the Best Day Ever. That's another good one. But he was saying on the call that if you're sitting there thinking about someone else right now, you need to look in the mirror, because you do it. And I started thinking, I'm like, I don't do it. And then I thought exactly like you did. Wait, I do. I do. There's people who I've made them the villain. And then there's moments where I've just sat in something thinking, oh, well, this is how it is. And he had a quote, no, this is not how it is. It is not what it is. It is what you make it. Like, yeah, like we got to write the story.
Yeah, in high school and everything, I was more of a writer. I haven't written in a very long time. But I've always enjoyed really good stories. So I don't know if it was a phrasing thing or if it's a literal thing, but just hearing the phrasing of like it being a story automatically made me more interested in the entire course, because now it wasn't like I was like hearing a lecture. It was like, no, I'm listening to a story. You know what I mean? This is an audiobook right now. Yes, these are real people and this is their real lives, but I mean, you're never going to find more drama, more action, more whatever, thriller than hearing somebody's actual life story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and they even call it story work. Like that's the process by which you rewrite your story. It's story work. It's the mindset tool that we were employing. I don't know.
Close enough.
Close enough. But yeah, like your emotions have to be moved, right? So like you said, you used to write the story, and maybe that's a great strategy to employ now. That is the word. It is employ. That's a great strategy to use because like he said on one call, he said, emotions have to be moved. And if you don't choose how to move them, they're going to choose for you. So you might lash out at people around you. You might just be in a bad mood and not be your best self because those emotions are sitting there. You got to do something with them. You've got to talk them out. You've got to write them out. You've got to cry them out. You got to do something to prevent being stuck in them. And, to go back to what you said about it being a story, that resonates really well too with one of the tools he gave me. It's a phrase I find myself using all the time now. And I kind of wonder if you do it too. Do you catch yourself saying, the story I tell myself is? Did he cover that in your episodes or your sessions?
He didn't, which is really cool because it makes it seem even more personalized. There were a lot of instances where he would go off on almost like a side tangent based off of what we were giving him, or maybe the pattern that he recognized in most of our stories. So it's really cool to hear your perspective and see that like how masterful of a teacher he actually is. Like I know he was good, but now hearing your perspective, I was like, man, this dude was really good.
He's really good. I genuinely can't wait to sign up for the Proclivity Method. It's a 12-week all-immersive program. It's all the things. It's the mindset, the nutrition, lifestyle choices, and I can't wait. I just know that I'm going to want to give it my full attention, and I can't do that right in this moment in time, but I cannot wait to do that.
What do you think your biggest takeaway was?
My biggest takeaway probably was that the emotions have to be moved.
Yeah.
And have to be explored, and that you have to be curious, and that curiosity kills conflict. So whether that's an internal conflict that you're having, something that doesn't feel good to you, that you have to explore what it is, or something in your relationship that doesn't quite feel right, but you have to ask the questions and move those emotions so that you don't get stuck there. So I even have now, there's an emotion wheel on my refrigerator. And there's a little magnet that fits inside all the words. If you guys don't know what an emotion wheel is, Google it. Take a visual. But essentially, the middle of the circle has like 5 things in it: happy, sad, angry. And then in the next outer shell of the circle, it breaks down sad into disgusted and depressed, and just dive in a little bit deeper. And then there's a third segment of the circle where the pieces are now even smaller, breaking it down further and further and further. And this tiny little magnet that fits inside the words. And every time I go to the refrigerator, and if you know me, you'll know that's quite often, I just pause and I think, like, what am I feeling? Because I had found that I was constantly just in a state of doing things, just getting things done. I wasn't in touch with my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, and it was making it really hard to move them And this strategy of recognizing how many times I would say I don't know. If you ask me something about CrossFit or squats or whatever, sure, let's talk, let's dive into it, let's explore that. But if you were talking to me about what I was thinking, what I was feeling, I would often respond with, I don't know. And Joel would say, you do know. Give yourself space to figure it out. You don't have to answer immediately, but you have to know. Because if you don't know yourself, how do you expect anybody around you to know you? Whew. Whew, that got me in the feels a little bit.
Yeah.
So now when I catch myself thinking I don't know, I explore that. I ask myself a ton of questions. If I don't think I understand what someone else is going through and I want to be part of their journey, as I often do, I'm asking them questions that I normally might have been a little too shy to ask. But I know that I'm not coming from a place of judgment. I'm coming from a place of curiosity and support. And that's the biggest thing I'm working on, is accepting that people really want to tell their stories. Like, I'll tease my mom on this. So my stepdad was like social butterfly, amazing human being. Like, he would know the waiter's entire life story by the time dinner was over. And my mom would say, well, did you get the vote? Like, she acted like he was on this political campaign, and he was just getting to know people and being a nice guy. But being in that environment, I thought, wow, does everybody feel that way? Like, I don't want to ask a bunch of questions and people feel like I'm too invasive. And I've come to really appreciate people want a platform for their stories.
Yeah.
And I want to give them the space to have that. And where better to explore that than at Mind Forge CrossFit?
Yeah.
It's part of what we do now.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you? Like, what was the big takeaway for you where you're like, I need to keep working on this?
It, as silly as it sounds, there was just one quote that I will probably be reciting for the rest of my life, and that is, don't just educate, integrate. I am really good at learning a bunch of stuff. How much of that have I actually applied to my life? If I had to guess, I'd say ballpark 35%. You know what I mean? Like, the amount of time I spend learning new things, I just enjoy learning new things. Like, it doesn't matter what it... Me and Sarah had a conversation yesterday about... excuse me. Basically one of the air traffic control systems and how the pilot can control that based off of what the weather is when they're on final approach and all of that stuff. Probably never use any of that information, but it was so fun learning about it and having that experience with her. I'm sure she enjoyed the conversation. She loves talking about aviation, and anytime I'm talking to her, she enjoys that. For context, it doesn't happen often. I'm not usually a chatterbox. I know, surprise. But yeah, so that phrase really, really hit home with me, because I have never had a problem with educating myself. I'll read the same book 5 times until I really understand it. And even then, I'll probably go back again a 6th time just to double check. You know what I mean? But sometimes that's where it stays. It just, it sits in the book, and it sits in my brain, and I have the understanding of these things, but then I get too gun shy to actually like try them. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I didn't see that coming. With all the content in the course, and we had that quote in one of our sessions too, and it was interesting, but it didn't sit with me the way it sat with you. And I'm just loving how many different takeaways come out of the same process.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, that would be the one that I would choose.
I love that. You know, I'm thinking a lot about the course and mindset coaching in general. It's a thing that people are talking about. You can hire mindset coaches, and I always wondered what that would look like. I'm like, just go read a book, just go listen to a podcast. No, this was genuinely life changing.
Yeah.
And I like I said, I don't hesitate to know, like, I don't discredit what I'm going to do with this information. I'm going to integrate the heck out of this. Like you're saying, trying to integrate your education. And I already have. I mean, I would not be in a sound relationship, a sound new relationship right now if it wasn't for the tools that Joel provided on that call. Shout out, Julie. I love you. Oh, I said it publicly. But the
Don't worry, we have like 4 listeners.
hopefully she's one of them.
Me, Frankie, and Sarah. That's it.
But having the tools to be in a healthy place this close to a traumatic event really resonates with how powerful this coaching experience was.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, no doubt about it. My life has been changed. And when I got to meet him a couple weeks ago, I hugged him and I'm like, I don't even know where to begin or how to begin to tell you how you've changed my life. But having a partner and doing the emotion wheel together, where now I know what my partner's thinking at any given moment, or if she's having big feelings, like she's communicating them. And we had what could have for other couples been a big fight yesterday because we misunderstood something very basic about our reasonings behind certain actions. And we've turned Joel into a verb in our household. And she was like, I'm going to Joel you right now. Can you explain to me why you have this reservation about this event? And I explained it, and she was like, oh, okay, I see that. And I was like, well, what story were you telling yourself that I said, I see this weight lifted off your shoulders. And she explained what she thought I was doing. We were in completely different worlds, but now having the tools to communicate this in a very healthy way and explore and be curious. Curiosity kills conflict. Dive in there, ask the questions and think about the answers, provide something meaningful. And boom, like it wound up being such a bonding moment because we got to the root of it. And if we hadn't, there would have definitely been some resentment that was completely unjustified. We just didn't understand each other's perspectives. And wow, that was powerful.
Yeah.
And having the tools to do that for the rest of my life, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Good stuff.
Something that Joel gave me specifically was just like whenever I feel like shying away from like a conversation, because we were talking about like having difficult conversations and being able to approach them, because we were talking about the what is it called, fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. I forget what those are called, but there's a specific name for those. But yeah, we were talking about that, and I'm a freezer. If I know that a difficult conversation is coming up, I will just stop talking and try to, like the Homer Simpson gif where you just like disappear into the bush. Yeah, that is what I try to do. You will actually see my shoulders visually climb up. Into the fight was the phrase that he gave me. He was like, you just got to get into the fight. Like, don't try to talk yourself out of it. Just think into the fight and then go. And then there was another phrase. I'm going to keep saying this like 85 times. But he kept saying, think slow, speak slow, act fast. Like, think slow, make the decision, speak slow, communicate effectively with said decision, and then act on it as quickly as you can. So I tend to do that in the opposite way. I tend to, with big things, everything else I can think through. I can overthink a text message for 6 months. You know what I mean? But when it's something
I said I was sorry already.
Yes, but it was the way you said it. But yeah, with big things, I want to get things done so quickly. When I feel inspired or I feel motivated or something like that, I'm like, okay, this thing has to get done right now. And it's like, I probably would have made it easier on myself if I was like, okay, I want this thing to be done right now, but let's think about the most effective way to do that. Let's try and implement some patience and think through this, talk through this, and then get the best result that we can get instead of getting a subpar result just because you wanted it right now.
Right.
Yeah. So think slow, speak slow, act fast, and then just into the fight. As soon as you start feeling those, and I'm sure he talked about like how your emotions reflect physically. So anytime I start feeling some of those things that we talked about, the stiffness in the chest, I start to squeeze my hands together or my knee starts bouncing. I'm a big knee bouncer. If I'm sitting down and stuff starts getting uncomfortable, that knee will start going like Thumper the Rabbit. I'm old, so that reference makes sense to me. Last question that I will ask you. If you could give one mindset skill to everyone on the planet, what would it be?
Well, there's so many I want to give people.
But which one's the best one?
I think a positive mindset is the best one. So, and people, including myself, misunderstood what that meant, right? If you said positive mindset, I just thought you did the spin doctor thing where you convinced yourself that everything was happy and everything's wonderful, even when it's not. But that's, at least by Joel's definition, that's not what a positive mindset is. It's the ability to quickly accept and redirect. And that was one of his phrases that really stuck with me. Accept and redirect. So whatever the situation is, you show up at the hotel, they don't have your reservation. Okay. They don't have your reservation. You can get stuck in that moment. You can be mad at that moment. Like you can have feelings about that moment, but how quickly you get from the feelings to the action, is really going to define how you live your entire life. So whatever you're faced with, whatever challenge it is, accept it, redirect it, and move forward, and maybe use a little story work in the process to do that, but just getting through that period as quickly as possible. Yeah, it's a for time workout. How quickly can you go from stimulus to acceptance to redirecting it into something meaningful?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest challenge when it comes to mindset, right? Like the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves in the moment, recognizing it, that you are telling yourself a story in the moment, because usually we don't, not in the moment at least. So recognizing that in the moment, being able to accept it or get to a place of acceptance with tools and things like that in the moment, and then redirecting and being able to move forward with actions. I mean, that's that pro that I was talking about earlier. You are not a beginner. You have done a lot of work to get to that point and built some really strong characteristics about yourself where you can handle that amount of emotional bandwidth in that amount of time. That can take some people literal years to be able to do that with certain instances in their life. So if you can recognize that in the moment and make that story adjustment in the moment and then move forward with that new story, because there's a lot of times where we will adjust the story until another similar occurrence comes up, and then we
go back to that first story.
We revert.
Again. Yeah,
it's comfortable. That's what we've been telling ourselves. So for you to be able to move forward with that new story, that's aces.
That is, and it's life changing. There was one other thing that he said a lot that you've heard it before, but never the way he said it. Or I'd never heard it before the way he said it. He kept saying, "This too shall pass." Now we hear that about negative things all the time. Whatever you're going through, this challenge, you're going to overcome it. You're going to get through it. But he pointed out that it's true of everything. It's true of the good stuff too. This is going to pass. So don't take it for granted. Enjoy the moment. This is what you've got right now. Accept it and redirect that too. Because unless you're putting the energy in, unless you're taking that energy and doing something with it, you can't hold on to it. And even when you put in the effort, still can't hold on to everything forever. And that was another powerful thing. Because we always talk about the negative stuff being short-lived. All the things are going to be short-lived.
Absolutely.
And,
And being able to accept that fact as well. You know what I mean? Being able to accept that the good times are not always going to be good. You know what I mean? I feel like there are some people that are having good times, but they're so worried or so focused on what may be coming next that it's probably giving them anxiety when they should just be enjoying it. You know what I mean?
Oh, so true. That was another one from the mindset course. God, this course is so good. He said anxiety is tomorrow robbing you of today, and depression is yesterday robbing you of today. And it's so true. Like, all we have is what's happening right now. Right now, Keith, it's me and you in this podcast. We're throwing down with our listeners. That's all we've got. And it's a great moment. I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm enjoying your company. And, you know, when we pack it up and go home, like, cool, I'll enjoy something else.
Absolutely. All we have is this moment in today. So I think that is a perfect stopping place for this episode. Thank you so much, Jenn, for your time, for your insight, for your perspective. Looking forward to possibly having you on a couple more times just to see the progress of the gym, see your progress as an individual, see if you and Julie go the distance. No, I'm just kidding.
Stay tuned.
But yeah, we'll definitely have you back out again. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me, Coach.
All right, guys. Make sure that you like, comment, share. You can DM us with any questions that you have, fitness and gym related, mindset related. We would love to hear from you. Also, go ahead and drop in the comments an answer to what movement you would like to not show up in the CrossFit Open this year. Look forward to hearing from you, and until next time, see you.